Hey there everyone, this is Jared III with another how-to video. Today I'll be going over how to off-tank Veteran Sunspire hard mode and for people with a particular goal of the Godslayer achievement. I only go over boss fights in this video as there are many ways to do the ads. I may do a separate video on how to do the ads as that is a major and very crucial part to mastery on your path to Godslayer. Check out the description for more info and a link to my Twitch where you can follow and sub for live raiding. I hope this is helpful, and thanks for watching. The off-tank role for Lokkestiiz is incredibly important, and you will have different priorities for ground and flight phase. I'm going to walk through slowly what I'm doing. First, for Magicka groups, you are the source of Alkosh, and Stam groups you can have a DPS wear it. You want to be very careful tracking when you take synergies instead of synergy spamming. 3 synergies are more than enough if you play it smart to keep up full Alkosh. I'm tracking Alkosh with debuff me, the white number is counting down from 10 when refreshed. The next biggest thing will be handling the ice atros during ad phase, or flight phase. This is complex, but what is typically best is you hold 2 at once inside the cleave of the group. They eat storm cages to die, and then you take the ice atro off the main tank when at least one of yours has died. Ice atros need some cleave on top of the 2 storm cages, otherwise they will have a tiny bit of health left and possibly eat a cage that was meant for another ice atro with more health, which means you would have more ice atros than desired after all the storm atros are dead. You might have noticed, but I'm trying to give plenty of space for the ice atros to move around. They are large targets and don't move to you unless there is enough distance. I'm trying to control which direction they cleave, and the group is moving along the outer edge of the arena. This will help mitigate people dying to atro cleaves as much as possible. The rest is totally on the DPS to pay attention. Usually on the second ground phase, you start having more fire atros to worry about. Keep flame atros off the main tank as a priority, then off cage healer. This is crucial for main tank because they will often use the defensive posture skill, which eats only 1 projectile per cast. A flame atro can eat that cast, and then a main tank take the full hit of a Lokkestiiz spit if it's right after the flame atros hit. You'll also start worrying more about ice atros, and you want to keep them a safe distance from the group, so you want to position them where they're not inside of Lokkestiiz so you don't accidentally taunt him. Probably the most difficult phase for the off-tank is the 50% flight phase. You have 2 ice atros, 6 storm atros applying minor vuln to your entire party, and static on yourself. One primary goal of the tank during this time is to make sure to purge your group. However you structure it, it is best to have tanks on opposite sides of each other to purge the most people. You are purging the minor vuln storm atros apply. You cannot aggro the storm atros. Otherwise, you could control the minor vuln to hit only you, but sadly that's not an option. A good rule is to try and purge right before beam connects and then every 2 to 3 seconds. This is crucial for the healers and DPS to be purged because they are taking 8% more damage during a very high damage phase. Watch your mag and try to roll dodge or kite a few of the ice atro light attacks. You can bait them to do a heavy attack, which gives you precious seconds of reprieve from their damage and an opportunity to purge the group. And congratulations, you've done probably the most difficult part of off-tanking Lokkestiiz. Now you'll just repeat doing the process you did with the last ground phase with the ice atros, bringing them to the storm atros to get cleaved, grabbing the main tank's ice atro when one of yours is dead. In the next phase, you will continue just keeping up debuffs on the boss and grabbing flame atros off the main tank and then the ice cage healer and grabbing the ice atro and placing it appropriately, just like the last phase. The only difference for the last flight phase is that the main tank will now grab both ice atros that spawn, so that you can intentionally make sure the ice atro you have dies. Most groups do not need to kill all the storm atros from this phase, so killing only 2 is fine to get rid of the 1 ice atro that you have. After your 1 dies, you take 1 off the main tank for beam phase, and then after beam phase, take the second one off to bring them both the ice atros into execute. You can position yourself so you can still get a synergy for Alkosh and safely refresh Taunt on the Ice Atros. And then you just wait for Lokkestiiz to die. Next, we'll talk about OTing for Yolnahkriin. It is relatively simple comparative to Lokkestiiz, as we'll see. First, flares are incredibly important. You must always stand in the first stack of flare so you get the debuff. You never want to be stuck outside the group and get the flare. By getting the first tick of flare, you can guarantee that you won't get the next set of flares, but RNG could mean you get the third set of flares. So ideally you're trying to control that you don't get stuck with a flare outside of group. Most groups pushing for Godslayer will have the main tank pulling the fire atros underneath the boss, leaving just the big boy iron atro for you. There are just a couple things about him that you need to know. He has 3 spawn points to the left of Yolnahkriin, directly in front in the back of the arena, so behind the group, or to the right. Regardless of the spawn, the iron atro will randomly do a front conal attack that spews lava at roughly a 45-degree angle. You want to make sure the atro's back is to the group as quickly as possible. The iron atro is still dangerous during Cataclysm. He is empowered and even a light attack will kill you if unblocked. Stay blocking until he dies. Next, you want to repeat the pattern of getting the first tick of the flare. Pay attention to which stack had flare last so you can stand in the one that will get it next. This is very important. So you can see here the iron atro spawned to the left. The idea is to get the iron atro where the group will stack after Yolnahkriin flies without endangering them with a conal lava attack. This is so that they can easily attack the iron atro during Cataclysm. To do this, you want to angle yourself so the iron atro will least likely hit the group if he does the conal attack, but also get as close to where the group will be as possible after Yolnahkriin flies. This will just take some practice. If you can't tell by now, Yolnahkriin positioning moves clockwise around the room, meaning you will ideally have the iron atro at the 3 o'clock of where Yoln just was every time. In execute, the OT will take everything since execute is usually the fastest phase. You can have the main tank take the flame atros under like the other phases if you'd like, it's really just preference. If you are taking the flame atros, taunt them as quickly as possible. If they enrage, just kite them around the back of the room and wait for Yolnahkriin to die. Nahviintaas is definitely the hardest part for off tanks due to the statues. I've put in the description below what causes statues to not spawn, but largely you don't want to rely on that. For this part of the video, I'll go over how to tank the statues in depth. I'm using powerful assault in this in this clip, but largely you don't need to do that, so ignore me going into the group often. I still thought this clip, however, portrayed the diversity of what OTs need to be aware of on Nahviintaas. One statue is not that difficult. Statues have 3 primary attacks. A stone fist that stuns you, but you can roll dodge it. If you block it, it places a slow on you, but every time you get hit by one, the slow stacks and increases. Second, they also slam, which is largely an insta-kill, and I'll go more into that in terms of controlling that when there are more statues. Finally, they also do a channeled attack that needs to be interrupted. You can see here I'm just roll dodging, bashing, and avoiding the slams. The first ad phase is pretty simple. Just start baiting the statue to the same corner where the fate spawns. The trickiest part is timing when to hide behind the next statue that will spawn. They go in a particular order for spawning, even if one is skipped. You want to hide behind the next one that will spawn for ease of taunting it. For the second statue spawn, you want to try and make sure the solo statue will be out from under the boss when he lands. If the statue starts to channel while inside Nahvi, it is near impossible to interrupt or even refresh taunt on the statue. Timing this will just come with practice. If you get a statue skip, great. Just keep doing what you're doing with one statue. You'll see there aren't any more skips for this run, and I'll highlight a crucial mistake I made while holding 3 statues. The next piece important for OTs is the 60 and 40% add phases. The OT will typically stack one of the fates, the right one. The best practices for this is to refresh taunt on statues right as Nahvi is about to fly, get bashes if they start to channel, run slightly towards the right fate, which is the one you taunt it, then run to the left side of the arena, but not all the way to the left edge. You want the fate to stop in the middle of the arena. After the fate is in place, refresh taunts on statues, get bashes, and begin preparing to hide behind the next statue spawn. With 2 statues, you want to pull them to the front right of the arena, then move them to the front left. With more than one statue, you start to have collision. Basically, they bounce off of each other a lot, which could mean very bad news for the slams, as they could happen in group. They could target you, collide off the other statue, and slam basically towards the group. Be very careful with more than one statue. You can do a lot of work to try and time when you bait their slams by keeping a larger distance from you and the statues. This will trigger them to either heavy attack you or start channeling. This is how you can try to control when the statues slam. They only trigger to slam when you are in range. Now you're going into the 40% add phase, and like I said earlier, you want to make sure to refresh your taunt on the statues, get a quick bash if they are already channeling, move towards the fate on the right side of the arena, taunt, move to the left, refresh taunt on the statues, get bashes, etc, etc. With 2 statues, the next statue to spawn will be the arena's front left, meaning the one the OT is usually hanging around at. To prepare to hide for the arena bombs on this statue, you want to pull them to the same spot you did when you had just one statue, the back left of the arena. Hang around there until the adds are dead. Once the arena is moving towards the bombs, kind of like lighting up, etc., try to bait one more slam from the statues, refresh taunts, and then hide behind the statue that will spawn as the third one. And now welcome to the hardest part of off-tanking, holding 3 statues. You want to apply the same principles as holding 2 statues. Try to be intentional about when you bait the slams, meaning keep a good distance the best you can, and only coming close when you want them to slam. Collision, as mentioned earlier, is exponentially worse with 3 statues, meaning they'll bounce off of each other a lot more. You'll see here, one started to target me, but another statue is too close to me, so the other one collided and slammed towards the group, killing 3 people. As a side note, you can roll dodge in the middle of a slam and live. It is important for you as an OT to notice when they might slam in group and call it out, so people might have a chance to still survive. The mistake I made was getting too close to the group, even knowing that the statues collide a lot. You want to try hanging out as far back as possible, while the group also hugs the boss as close as possible. especially for when the meteors start. The hardest part is keeping up your resources while holding 3 statues. I highly recommend a few things. 1. Get the mythic item Torque of Tonal Constancy. It is super helpful. 2. Do 1-piece Stam regen monster helm pieces. 3. Put Absorb Stam on your back bar and keep it up on Nahvi with Elemental Wall. 4. Get heavy attacks in where you can. 5. Use well-fitted body pieces and put more green CP into tumbling. 6. Mag also becomes bothersome as you're using Crushing Shock and range taunting more often. The more statues there are. Use balance or just be mindful of this Magicka drain. I'll put some other tips in the description below as options for off-tanking, so just check that out as well. And as you can see, the longer Execute goes, the harder it is to tell the difference between slams and meteors, or for you to even have enough room to bait the statues. That's part of the race in Nahviintaas hard mode Execute. Thank you for watching. As always, feel free to drop any questions or comments below. I also always give a caveat that videos like this are hard to fit every tiny nuance of how to manage difficult content, but my hope is that this is a step in the right direction for you. If this was helpful, give me a like and a subscribe. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.